Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being with us. I'm Rudy Trevino, along with Leslie Adamy. We'll get to those stories and more in just a moment. But we begin tonight with some breaking news. The U.S. Navy is investigating after one of its training jets crashed earlier this afternoon. The plane crashing into some ranch lands in the Orange Grove area. Let's get a quick look here on the map. Here's what we know so far. The plane carrying two pilots crashed on County Road 308. That's off of Highway 359 in Orange Grove. A spokesperson with NAS Corpus Christi tells us the pilots were able to eject before the plane crashed. The AT-45C naval jet, in fact, caught fire. We've since learned that both pilots were taken to an area hospital with minor injuries. Fortunately, they are expected to be okay. An investigation into what caused the aircraft to crash remains ongoing. Of course, as we learn more, we will certainly keep you updated on air and online.